The August Finance Corporate Committee meeting, and I'll start with apologies. I have one from Susan, who's unwell. Could I have a move and second, please? Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Claire. All in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, no. It is carried. Disclosure of members' interests. There being none, I'll move on. Late items? No. Confirmation of order of meeting. No change.
No, sure,
Right.
no,
Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Lou. All in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, no. That's carried. Confirmation of the minutes of the meeting of 20 June. That seems a long time ago, but they have been pre-circulated and nothing come out of it. No. So could I have a mover and accept as a true and correct record? Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Marcus. All in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, no. It's carried. Item 6, Cambridge Town Hall Community Trust. So who's going to introduce this?
Yep. So look, we've got the property team here. So we've got David and Chris, and we've obviously got the team from the Cambridge Town Hall Trust in the form of Kirsty and Simon, and I see Rob sitting at the back as well. So yeah.
Welcome. Kirsty, Simon, Andrew. Yeah. Fine. So,
and good afternoon, Chairperson and members of the Finance and Corporate Committee. Today I'm bringing you a report on the Cambridge Town Hall Community Trust, where they're going to present you with their statement of intent for 2023-24 and their strategic plan 24 through 34. So this has come about with the agreement that Council has with the Trust, and part of that agreement within Section 7 is to produce those two documents and also an asset management plan, which has been completed. To my left, I'd like to introduce Kirsty Johnson. She is the Chair of the Trust, Simon Brew, who is the GM of the Trust, and Rob Feist, who is the Deputy Chair of the Trust, and I'll pass over to them to present their documents.
Thanks, David. I think we've got some slides somewhere.
Yep, they are popping up as we speak.
Beautiful. Right, kia ora koutou. Thank you for having us here today. Today, Simon and I are here to present what the future looks like for the Cambridge Town Hall. So our focus up to this point has really been about setting the foundations for the Town Hall in a way that is relevant, vibrant and connected. So our mission, as we've heard many times before, is to breathe life into the Cambridge Town Hall and its environs by providing a thriving facility in the heart of the community. And we're guided by our principles, which I won't read today because I'm sure you've all seen them many times before. So hopefully we don't cover too much of what David has, but what we wanted to talk to you today about is the things that guide us. So the Town Hall Trust has been in existence now for about 2 years. What we've developed over those 2 years are the things that guide us. And those things are our trust deed, which guides obviously the trustees, and our lease and services agreement, which is what guides our relationship with the council. We have set clear intentions that we want the hall to be a place for mana whenua going forward, and that relationship has begun. So you would have seen the Matariki events that happened over the Matariki weekend. That's kind of the start of our journey, and we hope shows our commitment and our intention going forward. So Cambridge is growing significantly, as you all know, I'm sure. And the Trust recognises that the Cambridge Town Hall needs to accommodate the growing diversity and the growth of the Waipa district. Finally, climate change is something that is the top of everybody's minds. When we talk about climate change, we're not just talking about the building, but we're also talking about the events that we have within the Town Hall. So today we're here to talk you through what we call Section 7 of our lease and services agreement. So there's some, David mentioned these, but there's some really key parts that we have to fulfill in our obligations. The first one is our strategic plan, which covers the next 10 years. And this has a real key focus on the 3 years ahead of us. And also is refreshed in line with the LTP process. You'll also notice the same with our asset management plan, that's 10 years. And then our statement of intent is an annual exercise that we'll present to you each year. So if we start with our strategic plan, so this is a draft still. This is where you have the opportunity to comment and make suggested changes to our plan. So this will get adopted for the next financial year, 24-25 onwards. One thing we realised as we were putting this together is that our plans have actually been quite the same all the way through. We haven't wavered much in those. And the strategic plan has really been about articulating those. With Simon's arrival in January this year, so only 6 months ago, we've really been able to challenge our thinking and to test it externally with consultants within the industry. The events that we've run have really highlighted and confirmed the operational challenges that we face. We've been able to tick off some small things, like today the Wi-Fi got installed in the Cambridge Town Hall, which is a pretty significant step. Simon's working on the rubbish collection. We've engaged a health and safety contractor, and the resource consent so that we can have events on the piazza is underway. So really some significant things are happening in that space. Imagine into the new century. So our draft strategic plan then focuses on 3 principles. The first one is to connect. So through meaningful connections, create a hub that the community can embrace and use. The second one is to activate, to breathe life into the Cambridge Town Hall with inspiring events and people. And the third one is to enhance, to transform and significantly enhance the building to be a vibrant and iconic facility for the community. So really our draft plan focuses around those 3 things, and you will have had a chance to look at the actual documents within your packs, hopefully, and see the priorities and the actions that we've assigned to each of those. For time's sake, I'll leave it at that. So also within the strategic plan, one of the other things we had to do was have KPIs. So we've kept these ones at a really high level, and you'll notice in our statement of intent that they get down to a much more detailed level. So we talk about event diversity, increasing the number of bookings, the range of bookings, and the geographical reach that we have from year to year. Customer satisfaction, which is all about collecting feedback from every hirer. We want to reduce our waste and increase our recycling rates. Measuring the perception of the Cambridge Town Hall will be important going forward. In terms of financial viability, the key thing is to make sure that we meet our budgeted income targets. And finally, our biggest project, to research and fully agree our master plan going forward. So now I'll hand you over to Simon, who's going to give you more detail on our master plan.
Thank you, Kirsty. Kia ora koutou. Great to be here. So I suppose this is the big topic that we've been looking at. Many people know this building. Many people have used this building. You will have all used it or visited the building yourself. And you will know the many positive things already about this building, and also the many deficiencies that the building has to operate now and into the future. So that's a big chunk of the work we've been doing around our master plan, challenging those topics, getting some external people in to challenge our thinking of how we want to fix those and remedy them for the future. And so that's brought us to this position. So a master plan. Why do we need a master plan, and why a significant investment into the building? So this is really some top level stuff. Everyone knows it. The deficiencies include, the lack of back of house, the dressing rooms, no dockway. Accessibility and foyer space is a real issue. I'm sure some of you have attended events, and I've certainly witnessed many in my few months here, where a number of people turn up to the building and before their ticket is clipped, they're standing in a queue out the front in the rain and in the weather. There's not enough foyer space to welcome people. And accessibility is not only an issue for those who may need increased assistance with getting into the building, but also accessibility for our venue hirers and people using the hall. It's cumbersome. The way around the building, there's many avenues and doors which just really don't work, so that's a problem. So stage house and technical equipment, that's a major overhaul. And we've got some quick wins, which you'll see in our statement of intent, but there's much more work to do there. Servicing of the building, everything from the back of house. If you're running an event and you load in all day for 12 hours, you need to simply be able to have a shower before you walk on stage 12 hours later from arriving in the building. It's a really, really simple thing, but there's many small things like that we need to have at the hall. Seating is a big topic, increasing the seating, and we have had some consultants in, and to challenge our thinking, we think we can get the hall seating up to around 500, which would be great. So I don't have to turn some people away or have so many people standing around the outside. And of course, the NBS rating is currently 40%, and you'll see in our documents there that we'd like to bring the building to 67%, and any new additions to the footprint would be 100%. Now, as we've done some events, as Kirsty mentioned, we've also brought some consultants in. We've also found some different challenges and surprises. So the hall has to do many things for many people. You all know that, from a concert to a community event, and everyone has their own take on what they need the building to do. Many people just tell us, change the wallpaper and we're done. But the opportunities that are lost there are all the people who don't hire the Cambridge Town Hall because of its deficiencies, and that's what we really need to focus on. And then, so we've found some other things that are really interesting with our consultants, and I'll just touch on some. They're really small things, but for example, we all know the red curtain at the front of the stage. That's meant to have a warrant of fitness and doesn't. It doesn't have a warrant of fitness. Our access stores have push bars, not panic bars. Some really interesting things that as we bring consultants through in the last months, we're finding out more and more things that need to be done. So we're working that into our sequence between what the money we have now to spend and the money for the future. So we avoid undoing any work for the future. That's a really key thing. And so that's been a real chunk of work in the last 7 months to make sure we get that plan right. So then from that, we then have a pile of opportunities as well. If we're reinvigorating the hall right now, we can think about other things that the hall needs. So we've identified that we need some more in-house capability. So in-house technical knowledge, so that when people turn up to use the hall, there's someone there who can work the sound system or work the lighting or any other technologies that are there, but also assist people using the hall to use it to its full advantage. There's some deficiencies I hear from everyone about acoustics. Maybe the way people are using the hall is not suited to the acoustics. They may be choosing the wrong sound system to bring into the hall, or they may be not investing in someone who's sitting at the back of the hall listening. So that in-house knowledge will help people. It's very small things, but have a better experience in the hall. So we have those opportunities in front of us. And lastly, I think we have the opportunity to have an iconic building. The hall is already iconic locally. I'm from out of town, as we know. The hall is not that known in the country. If you think of something like the Len Lai in New Plymouth, fantastic building, the Oamaru Opera House, or many other buildings, the Michael Fowler Centre, the Cambridge Town Hall is a beautiful building, when you immediately look at it. But the opportunity to have something incredibly iconic for the region, for the hapori, is right in front of us there. So it's not just fixing up the sound or the accessible ramp, but it's about making the thing an actual statement in the heart of our community. So moving forward, some of the immediate things we want to fix in the master plan are really simple. They're just the major improvements to the stage, professional backstage facilities. We want to open the Prince William Theatre to the main hall, which will increase our seating capacity, which is the next point. A larger footprint, we are looking at how we can have a larger footprint for that back of house, for those entrances and those foyers, more flexible spaces throughout the hall, increased accessibility, and a loading dock. That's just a very high level look at some of the bigger topics. And as mentioned, it's not just about the bricks and mortar. We actually need to have a professionally operated hall. This is a fantastic building, and we've moved away from just collecting a key already to having someone on site for every booking, and that started from 1 July this year. And that increased skill will mean people can have a great experience in their town hall. We can also support community events and organisers. So some of the things we're doing there, a lot of the bookings are community bookings. Between now and December next year, we've got about 70% of bookings for the community. Many of them need support in finding the funds to run their events. So already we're writing letters of support or finding avenues for people to get funding to run their events in the hall as they want. On-site assistance, and of course, just a well-maintained asset. Because if we're going to put some money into this hall, we need to make sure it's looked after for the future. So from that, we worked through the challenges that we have with the hall, had them all checked, and some specialists in, and our QS project manager we had until May this year has done us up a top level number of what the master plan expenditure estimate would be. And as you've read, we hope to be able to achieve this in 2026 around that time so that we can move the hall forward. You've got those numbers, I think, in your documents, and we can take questions later. To run the hall, of course, there's an operational budget that also needs to go with it and the expenditure. Just what's not here, sorry, but there is the income projection against those numbers. And there's income projection from rental spaces, but also from sponsorship and philanthropy. And just recently we adopted our philanthropic strategy or plan going forward, and how we'll increase the ability and attraction to people to help us support that journey. And already in my time here, it's really heartening that it seems like an incredibly giving community. It's a very generous community, both financially and in terms of people giving their time. So I think we'll look forward to connecting and working with people through that. Obviously, for that income, we have to have some fees. So we set our principles behind our fees. So one of the things was we wanted to maintain the pricing streams that currently are in place. So we've had the private rate and then the community rate. In a way, the private rate for other venues is called a dry hire, just what you charge for a day, a dry hire, and then a community rate for a discount. So that in the budget, we have put in a 60% discount for community events versus the private rate. And that's to continue to make sure that the hall is available to those who want to use it. So inclusive pricing, so as much as possible, building the costs that we incur into the price, so not adding on things like power, but trying to have as much of that inclusive as possible. Be competitive, value for money, you have support staff. We do have additional extras that we can sort out for people, maybe security or other specialists, so we can look into sourcing those people and passing on those costs if they are needed. Balance of user pays, and of course, our collaboration with you, the Waipa District Council. So our proposed fees from 1 July next year see a significant increase for the private commercial, but with a heavy discount for the community. And I will pass back to Kirsty.
Thanks, Simon. So the second part of what we're here to present is around our statement of intent. Oh, we lose our slides. So our statement of intent is for the current year that we're in and starts from the 1st of July this year, obviously. This being the first one, what you'll actually see is that we'll be back in only another few months to present the one for the next year. So it's taken a little bit to get to this point, but going forward, it should be much easier, I think. So within the lease and services agreement, we have this nature and service specifications. And along with that, within our own trust deed, we have a mandate to make an active contribution to the events and the activities that are delivered in and around the Cambridge Town Hall. So what we've done is we've used these nature and service specifications to develop our key performance indicators. So with that, they align with our strategy. So you would have seen in our strategy, they're high level. Within the statement of intent, they get broken down a lot more, and we start measuring actual things in there. So I won't go into detail about exactly what they are. You can read about them in your packs. But we will be checking in early next year with you to kind of let you gauge how we're going against all of those. So Simon, will hand you back over to Simon to talk to you about the annual budget for next year.
Great. So we have the financial targets for the coming year. And then these incrementally increase. Things like donations and sponsorship, we've started with a number and then we move up in the coming years. And that's very much in line with our philanthropic strategy or policy that we've adopted. And that's all through our new website as well, where people can engage. This is, so the next part, which is the exciting bit, we obviously have some funds available, and this shows where we want to spend it in the coming 12 months. So most of this is not new, apart from you'll see at the top performance package. So we need some immediate things in the hall so that we can activate events. So that's flexible curtains, drop cloths, some immediate lighting that we can carry forward into the future as well. But they have to be kind of specific ones so that we can activate the hall, because currently we can't hang lighting above the stage with the infrastructure that's above the stage currently. It all needs a lot of work, which is why you'll see that in our strategic plan, a huge amount of money to go into the staging. So we have to buy some temporary equipment, but that is equipment that we'll use going further into the future. So it might be on a stand for now, and in the future, when the rigging's done, we'll be able to take that light and put it then into the rigging. So that performance package means we can make some pretty special events in the coming years. So this is a breakdown of where we've got to. And I suppose the key thing is the sequence, which I mentioned. Sequencing, what do we need now? What should we be putting money into that we, with this master plan idea, we're not going to be significantly undoing, because that's really an important thing. And that's been a huge amount of work in consultation and conversation within the trust. So this is our process, and we are underway in getting a new project manager currently. I think in the next 2 weeks, they're meant to have their submissions in, the 4 companies that we're looking at to complete this work. So with that, I believe we can take some questions. I'm sure there's some around the room and we'd welcome them.
I'm sure there is too. Roger.
Yes, if I may, thank you for that. It's exciting. Really is good. Just a simple question. Having occupied the office that you're now in, I know that there's a big horn on the top that makes a horrible sound that actually scares the living daylights out of you when it happens. Are you managing to get that shifted? I mean, to have that go off in the middle of a performance would be...
Correct. Yeah, it's high on the agenda, and we've had some, Rob and I have had some fantastic conversations down with the fire chief about that situation. And obviously it's an important thing to have, but yes, there is some definite conversations happening in the space, and we're very thankful to the fire chief for being very open to some conversations there. Yeah.
And I noticed your comment about the main hall and the quality of the sound that's there, the acoustics. And I don't think it's ever been said, certainly while I was there and around the table, that the acoustics of the hall are actually quite good.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah. So you've got some good bones for acoustics to work with.
Yes.
Certainly exampled by the shows that you've had so far.
That's correct. And also in the last few months, I've been quite lucky to bring a few friends through the hall, some musicians, some very prominent musicians around the world who are very excited about that space in terms of of the sound that's in there. But it was built a long time ago for a time when there wasn't going to be a PA speaker system where someone would speak unamplified or music was delivered in an unamplified manner. Of course, moving forward, the events and the people who hire the hall want a very different thing. And that's why we need to actually future-proof the building and modernize it so it can cope with both the acoustic music or acoustic performance and someone who wants to show off their I don't know, rock band or a pop group, for want of a better word. Yeah, so we need to future-proof that and treat the room, or as we've been advised, be able to tune the room. Yeah.
One of the challenges that we had was some performers wanted to use certain effects like smoke, whatever you call it, cannon or whatever. Are you able to enable that, or does that take too much in terms of fire?
That's an excellent question. And as of yesterday, I had to deal with it. There's someone who wants to film a mini documentary in the hall in 2.5 weeks' time. They only booked last week and they need to do just that. And I've had a good conversation with Argus already about how we can do that. So there is a way of doing that safely.
But
Yes.
will it be possible?
Yes.
Oh, good.
It just takes a little bit of extra paperwork and things. Yes.
Phil, and then Mike and then Claire.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, guys, for your report today. Really exciting, and really excited to hear about the Wi-Fi, but you know, the whole technology package and things like that, along with other things that you've mentioned, needs to be improved. You know, Waipa, we're really blessed with the facilities we have for holding big functions and things. Don Rollins Centre and Velodrome and Mystery Creek and things like that. And the town hall really does compete against them. The one thing that the town hall has got ahead of any of them is the centre of our town, and been such a beautiful, iconic building. And I'd just love to see in future having many events there, but love to see have multi-day conferences where people can stay in hotels and walk to the restaurants and conferences, and that'll help get its name out there. You talked about creating a reputation like many of the other buildings around the country, and you know, we're St Andrew's Church and our clock tower iconic in our town, so should be the town hall. So yeah, it's really exciting thanks for your report, and really exciting what you've got ahead, which it deserves. But we are so blessed in our area with the facilities we do have, and the town hall currently competes sadly or whatever against them. So no, I really support this. So well done. And Wi-Fi, yeah, let's have a party because of it, using the technology. So anyway, thank you. Thanks very much for your presentation today.
Thanks for the chair. Yeah, thanks again for your presentation. Just picked up on your comments around trying to enlarge the main auditorium or the main floor. Just a little bit of concept work around how you're looking at doing that, because you're spending quite a bit on the stage too. Are you sort of pushing things back, or what are you looking at doing there?
Yeah, there's some. We've had some consultants in and we've talked about a few things. I mean, ideally, well, at the end of the answer is really, it will be up to the architects to do that work, and the architects to solve the issues that we have to make that flexible space to increase the floor capacity. And there's a few ideas around there. We're keeping it open, of course, for the architects competition that we hope to have around that. But there are some options in terms of having temporary stages that can go in, say at the front, or be removed, which could give you some floor space. So yeah, there's some options there in terms of what other venues do that could be explored at the town hall.
Right, and that 500 odd people, would that sort of probably include upstairs with the old? Yeah,
yeah, correct.
So you
I
get
think
some capacity.
they believe they can get 114 upstairs once it's reopened, and then the rest on the main floor on the stage. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm just loving your presentation, and I think we're really fortunate to have someone with your sort of capability, Simon, in bringing forward these ideas. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm really concerned about the way that the trust reports to us. Yeah, and so I was looking on page 42 of our agenda, which I think, I'm not sure what page that is of the statement of intent. It's about event diversity, and I'd really love to see reporting on different categories of events that you're able to hold, you know, yes, and I guess whether it's those conferences that Phil mentioned, or you know, those musical ones, or and whether or not you're able to attract you know, audiences from outside the district. Yeah. I do love the innovative approach that you're taking, though, and great to see about mana whenua, and also whether it's climate change or, you know, green ways of running events and things like that. With the customer satisfaction, yeah, I would like to see a net promoter score eventually, yeah, stuff like that. And with the targeted, actually it's the budgeted income targets, you've suggested at least $9,000 in philanthropic support. Could that be as a percentage of the operational costs or the capital costs or something? So like, just so we can see what your long-term target is that you might be trying to, I guess, fund from outside council. Yeah. And then I did have a couple of questions about your proposal about having an asset management system and also the register. I wondered whether or not it'd be make more sense to keep that with council, because we've already got systems, but that you have access to it or something, so that, and the same with project management of capital costs, because we've got quite a lot of in-house expertise for delivering capital projects. Yeah, but it was just a suggestion, because obviously you'd like to have absolute control over that. But I just thought there might be opportunities to collaborate, yeah, with council on that. Yeah, those are my suggestions. Thank you. But yeah, pretty excited about what you're proposing.
Yeah, so Chair, do you want me to respond to that? Yeah, yeah. Look, we will absolutely, you know, collaborate with, yeah, with the Town Hall Trust. But look, we certainly don't want to, you know, don't want to diminish in any way you know, their ownership. Yeah, this council has tasked them with a job to do. Yeah, they need to do that job. But yeah, look, I can absolutely assure you, and in fact, the Town Hall Trust know this. Yeah, we will work. Yeah, work as closely in partnership as we can to make this successful. So yeah, so look, I'm not too sure about yeah, you know, the specifics of the two things you've mentioned. I'm probably thinking, oh, I don't know so much about the you know, the asset register. Yeah, you know, I think this is simple enough that you know, the trust can actually maintain their own asset register. Yeah, but in terms of project management, yeah, we'll certainly look to help. But look, at the end of the day, yeah, you've got a very engaged and excited trust who are very keen to move this on, and in fact, actually, I know they've got some fantastic skill set already in their midst. So yeah, so we're kind of the shadow partners, you know, supporting where we can and at their wish. But look, yeah, I think we do need to let them get on with the job largely as my view as an officer. Yeah.
Thanks, Ken. Liz.
Yeah. So, Rob, when we sat down with Antanas probably about 8 years ago, I don't think we ever dreamed we would probably be sitting in this position right now with such a comprehensive report and just a real vision, because this is exactly what we hope for, I guess, in terms of a community outcome for the town hall, which was just literally falling apart. The increased level of service that you're now bringing to our beautiful building is just, you know, it's just been desperately needed for such a long time to be able to activate, bring all those bookings that we used to have. Now they're coming back. I'm going to ball on this Saturday night. The other things that I'm hearing about that are now coming back to the town hall, and it's because of, you know, the energy that you're all bringing. Ken, I do want to just say, because your interest in this hall has really helped continue driving it, and I just want to acknowledge that, because I know Chris as well, in the past, Bruce Nuns, you know, it has been a team effort, really has, and I just think that your interest in that has really helped things along. There isn't a lot of competition in my mind. The other venues around are very different propositions. The Velodrome, you know, very different. Mystery Creek, out at Mystery Creek, Don Rollins out at Lake Karapiro. This is a conference centre in the middle of our town in our highest density area. This is going to attract a whole lot of different bookings, I think, from outside. One of my questions that I'm probably, my concern is around parking. And I'm sure it's on your radar as well. You bring 500 people, you usually account for about 2.7 people in each car. That's the ratio I always use. And you'll only be able to utilise, of course, the area in the existing car parks. I'm hoping that a deal can be done with some businesses, and I kind of wondered how far where you were with that.
Yes, it's an excellent point. There's a few leads I have to follow up that I've been looking at in that. One of the things, parking is an issue. One of the things in terms of the master plan, and maybe it didn't articulate it, is the need for a drop-off zone. Most other venues like this have a drop-off zone. So if someone's going to an event, you can pull in, and that might mean, I'm trying to think of the Lake Street side of the hall, where there's currently the disused bus stop. In the future master plan, there's a definite need for a taxi, an Uber, or to be able to pull in and drop off someone, but also a family member or a relative or a neighbour to easily drop someone right at the door. But also, we're probably going to need some of those fancy bike racks, where you wheel your bike in and it pulls up. We're going to need some spaces where people can in a very concise manner, park a bike. That's certainly what I saw when I was in Europe. Bike parks, they had the multi-story ones like we have car parking buildings, so those need to be explored in the master plan. And in the immediate future, yes, having some conversations with the businesses around, particularly in the after hours time, of how we might be able to utilize some parking as an item on the list. But it is a concern, the parking, yes.
So, Roger and then Dale Marie.
Thank you. I'm pleased that you're going to increase the capacity. I'm aware of an event in August where 100 people were turned away, which, the event I'm talking about. So it was good to see that number turn up.
It was great.
To start. I noticed in your statement of intent, though, the progressing of the resource consent for a liquor license. And I understand how important that is for you to get that. How are you progressing that? And is there a need for there to be any physical additions to the building to enable a liquor license to be obtained?
Yeah, so it is something we definitely want to do. If I'm really honest, it's one task that's just been pushed down as we've been trying to do this part. So now it's bubbled to the top, the resource consent, both for the liquor license and the piazza. So we're working with a consultant to progress that forward. And I understand we need to, if I'm right, change the use of the building to a function centre. To be able to move that forward. So there's a bit of work in the background to change the rules. If that answers the question. In terms of within the building, obviously from the new kitchen and we want to put it in the bar area in the Edwardian, we're going to have to put some assets in there, and that's budgeted in that work to be done in the next 12 months. So we
Storage
can,
and things
that's
like
right,
that.
that's right.
Yeah. Okay, good. But you see that's going to be achievable within this year?
Yes. It's high on the agenda now. Yes.
Good.
Dale.
Tēnā koutou. Wonderful presentation. I've been lucky to be able to talk to Simon via email. So I'm really excited as a person who's worked in the Dominion Museum in Wellington. And I just have to ask, have you come from Wellington?
I studied there in the Dominion building in Wellington some time ago. Yeah.
So we went through quite a huge old messy hat. And I'm not sure if you know that building currently is under 162 million with other things going on. So the parking part, I don't really give too much about that, but the drop-off part, really care about that. Because in the Dominion Museum, if you have a look in the middle of Wellington, there is no parking to that building. and it can take up to 500 to 600 to 700 people on the best of days for the events that we've held in there. I'm excited because the investment that's gone into that building over the last 20 years has only increased its usage, the Dominion building. Yes, there was a chunk of time where Peter Jackson took it and he wrecked it a little bit, and now we've had to put more money in to fix it since he's left. But I'm excited because I can see some really great events coming to flourish a stunning building. And what I see from the Dominion Museum building in Wellington, if we could replicate a little bit of that in Cambridge, on the existing print that it has, I can see huge things coming from this town hall. So as long as they don't host propaganda events, I'll be happy. Tēnā koutou.
That include political parties?
Thank you, everybody, for that. Do we have any more questions? Just to get Bruce.
Just one on the master plan expenditure. I was part of a resource consent hearing on Te Awa years ago, and we had buckets and we had Hautapu air blowers to give us heating. I'll pick on the roof. Is that in any order of leaks? I dare say they've been fixed by now a little bit, but is that capital expenditure a high priority?
In terms of the roof leaks? Yeah, so there's within the money we have, there's an amount set aside within the next 12 months for leaks to tie us over to do the proper full roof as part of the master plan. Because if we rip the roof off now and redo it, and then the master plan changes in some way, we're kind of going to be potentially wasting some money. So we have, I think it's $140,000 set aside in the next 12 months to deal with some of the roof leaks. The Wi-Fi people who are in the roof yesterday tell me there's some gaps in the little capping where all the leaves go in. So maybe there's a solution there. So yes, there is money set aside for that in the next 12 months to tie us over.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So look, I guess just a question and a suggestion. So Councillor St Pierre, when she spoke before in regard to the statement of intent, made what I thought was some very good suggestions in regard to some of the performance measures. So there were 3 or 4 that I thought the suggestions that she had was very good. Look, I appreciate that you as a trust and us as officers have kind of put this up as the final product because the year is underway. But look, can I just suggest our resolution is to receive these documents in terms of the strategic plan. We're actually going to feedback some comments, and of course that will be finalised next year. But look, can I just suggest with the statement of intent, I think it would be good if you could just sort of take that away, perhaps think about those suggestions that Councillor St Pierre made, and look, we'll if you could maybe submit a final one, and then of course councillors, if you can trust us to just work through that process, we'll circulate that when that arrives, assumably in the next week to 10 days or so. I would have thought would be sufficient time frame. So yeah, so Chair, I just suggest that we perhaps do that just before we absolutely lock and load that statement of intent.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. Yeah, you happy?
Yeah, we're happy with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, look, thanks for, obviously a lot of time, effort and expertise has gone into creating this. The big number, the capital expenditure, is a little bit frightening, I suppose. But hey, if you don't get out there and go for broke, you won't get to where you want to go. So I wish you all the best. Yeah, and with Ken's suggestion, Ken, do you think we need to alter the resolution at all?
No, look, I think it's through you, Chair. I think it's fine because yeah, we're simply receiving these documents. So so it's part B of the resolution or the recommendation receives the presentation, the annual statement of intent, and the draft strategic plan. Yeah, look, I think if we record in the minutes that there will be some slight modifications made to the performance targets in the statement of intent. So Claire, if you could just record that in the minutes. Yeah, look, I think the recommendation is appropriate.
Fantastic. Great. Well, on that basis then, I'd just like to say I'm not a Cambridge person, but it's fabulous to see that building coming to life and being utilised for the benefit of the community as I guess it was intended. Rob, you'd like to make a comment?
A comment I'd like to make before you close off this session. The Cambridge Town Hall, you talk about it's you're not a Cambridge person and that. Some of the interesting figures from the first functions that we've had there is that almost 50% of the people that attended the function were from Te Awamutu. The point I'm making is that this is a Waipara asset. And what we do there is going to benefit the whole area. It's got a special character that nowhere else has, which we intend building on. And you've certainly heard the plans for the future, but bear in mind, this is a Waipara asset. And the people that are attending, we were quite amazed of how many people from Te Awamutu attended. It was almost 50%.
And Hamilton.
And Hamilton.
I nearly left them off and they were most upset.
So I just want to make that point, Mr. Chairman. I think it's very, very important. Sort of there's a perception in some quarters that this is just for Cambridge. It's not. It's for the whole area.
Yeah, thanks for that. I do take the point. Although it's an iconic Cambridge building for sure. Yeah, cheers. Okay, so look, thank you very much, all involved. And we have a recommendation on page 14. Thank you, Liz. And a seconder. Thanks, Mike. All in favour? Contrary, no. It is carried. And thank you very much for your attendance and presentation.
Was that Mike?
Yes. Okay. Goodly. David, you're back in the chair. This is item 7, quarterly property services report.
Tēnā koutou again. This report is the 4th quarter report for property services for 2023. Seems a long time ago, but we'll try and remember what's happened back then. Just going through the report, I'll take it as read. There are a few highlights that I just to go through. Cambridge Museum seismic update upgrade is going well. Cambridge Water Tower has some interesting facets to the project where the costs from the seismic work has elevated. So we've put that back on the table to look at that and look at other options that we can got there. Cambridge Clock Tower again, that has some interesting facets with the automation and the manual mechanism coming to end of life. So we'll have to have a close look at that. Good news, we have signed a contract with for the new Parks depot, so that will be coming to council in the future, and that will be looking at taking the parks out of the warehouse, which has been a long time coming. As you will be aware, the forestry scar on Pirongia, the forestry work has completed, and we're expecting final payment from PF Olsen today in the range of $230,000. And the Vale Court project in Cambridge and Leamington is going well too. And that's in the final stages of stage 1 in procurement, and procurement stage 2 will run in conjunction while stage 1 is being produced. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
Questions. So I've got Claire and then Mike.
Thanks, David. Yeah, great report. I did want to ask about the Pirongia forestry. So you said you're expecting another 200 and something? Yeah. Yeah, so does that mean the total is over $600,000 then? Yeah, oh, great. Yeah. Were you happy with the revenue that was generated? I mean, I think we were hoping for a bit more than that, but I guess, yeah. I mean, from what I've heard, it went, the harvesting itself went well, I thought. Yeah, and it was managed well too with the community, which was really appreciated. Yeah. I would like to know about the plans for replanting, if that's going to happen, and whether, I'm hoping there'll be some consultation with the community and then some different options. Yeah, and when's that likely to happen or start at least?
Yeah, through you, Chair. The harvest, unfortunately, we got good return on the logs, but we got hit hard with the fuel costs and the cartage costs. And then that was unforeseen at the time that we decided to harvest. Unfortunate. Future forestry plantation will look at the area, will look at the topography, work with all in the community in Mana Whenua and look at the options. We do have in the LTP process a budget that will allow for a single exotic or a mix of primary and secondary and native. We haven't got 2 or 3 native in there. That's typically a 7-year, 10-year process further down the track. And then again, work with the community, look at what return to council is. And so it's a bit of a mixing bowl, but it will give us a focus on the future.
Just further with the Pirongia, the forestry, so that 200 odd that's coming in today, was there any other payment between the end of June and today? No, so the total is about 600. So the thing about that operation, the big thing that stands out to me is the expenditure, where we budgeted 440, forecast was 145, but the actual expenditure is $1 million. It seems like a very big.
Yeah, so do you want to speak to that, David? So I think we've got a couple of things going on. Sorry, just before I do let speak, a couple of things going on. So the 600 or 600, 650, whatever it is actually net proceeds from the timber sales versus minus the harvesting costs. So that's all I guess coming through the revenue side. I understand what we're seeing on the expenditure side is a write down in value of standing timber. So every year we revalue our timber at balance date, and so I think we're seeing some write down there. Now some of that will be the timber that we've actually harvested, being written out the books. Some of it is actually the other standing timber. So I think what is clear, and actually I think we're still sort of getting our heads around this to a certain extent, because we've just actually had that valuation work done. Like I say, there's it's very clear that there's been quite a substantial drop in the and prices in the industry. And of course we are dealing with a commodity here. So so we're seeing two things. We're obviously seeing a harvesting that's happened, and we've netted 600, 650. But look, we're also seeing a universal diminishment in the value of our standing timber, which of course is reflective of point in time, value of value in commodity prices, because essentially the valuation of the standing timber when we do it every year is basically saying, hey, what will be the net proceeds of this? So what's the net value of this after harvesting costs? And again, of course, that changes on a cyclical basis. So I'm not sure. Is there anything to add to that, David, or please correct me if I'm wrong. If I've
Okay, thanks for that. Just on the.
Yes, just on that subject. But we've got to remember that those trees were planted for the catchment of the water, so they had a purpose, even though there may be a bit of a loss there.
Sure. Yeah. Mike.
Yeah, thanks, David, through the chair. Hey, good to hear your comments there, Claire, around basically looking at possible replacement around carbon forest and maybe also a harvestable forest down the track. My question, though, is around the ex-Bunnings building. And just, I know we're paying a lease of around 100,000 a year, and it's sort of sat there for a good couple of years now. Are we getting any income out of that? Are we? Yeah, we are. So just, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, look, unfortunately, I don't have the numbers, but yeah, look, there is a logistics company who's been leasing that space off us for quite some time, and yeah, we are getting a good commercial rate of income from the guy who's running the logistics company.
Thanks. And the question was triggered because I saw a big truck sitting outside there, which would make sense if it's a logistic company.
Thanks. Liz and then Marcus.
Thanks, David, for your report. Hey, my heart skipped a beat actually when I was reading the Cambridge Clock Tower. I felt better as I was about to line 4, that everything is okay. So I just wanted to make sure it's still going to keep dinging and all that as well, right? Yeah, okay, because you know how much we love our town clock, and I'd hate to think that it was going to miss a few important timings.
Through you, the chair, unfortunately, it's not dinging. The mechanism has come to its end of life. We have a report coming to you on the 29th of August, which explains the expenditure that's been spent on the mechanism for the last 6 months, and then looking at the possibility of going to full automotive whilst the refurbishment work is being done. I've been in council back in 2008 and have joined the troops that have climbed up the ladder to wind it to the perfect amount. But unfortunately, that mechanism is when it does break down is coming from the UK, and it's like anything with time. It's coming to its end of its life.
Marcus.
I wouldn't expect Cambridge to have a tacky clock. Just a big thank you for the upgrades on the Waikato. What am I talking about now? The Maori Women's Welfare League house. It looks absolutely amazing, and I mean it was well overdue, but it's tip top again and looks fantastic. The other thing, has there been proactive movement working with the RDA about using the property on Herbert Street, and how is that going?
Through you, the chair, yes, we're in process of rearranging the boundaries on that subdivision. The site has been cleaned up and is getting prepared for on sale of the houses and the cottages in the back, and then for the RDA to go into that site. So yeah, considerable work is being completed at present.
Mike.
Can I just ask about the income side of it, the properties commercial? Just give us a bit of a story behind that. Page 46.
Through the chair, that will be, if I get this right, it'll be the on-selling of asset that has been aligned for sale within the LTP project from last year. Work is continuing to work through that property, through those properties. There is subdivision, there is and other works that needed to be required to bring that property up for sale, as well as the example would be the COG and the lifting of the designation. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to bring that property when it's ready for sale. So that is continuing. And once those sales then progress, they're starting to progress now, that difference in revenue will change.
Cool. And just help me out here. The forecast line. So are we reforecasting quarterly? Because year end is now end of financial year.
Absolutely.
So I was just interested to see if the forecast's only 3 months old.
Yeah,
That's my
so,
question.
well, yeah, we're actually 4 months old. So you're looking at a forecast number there that was that was determined.
February.
Into February essentially. So we forecast twice a year. So
Twice a
we're
year.
at the 4-month point and the 8-month point. Yeah, but clearly we forecast that way too high, obviously with the benefit of hindsight. So I guess as David says, that now pushes into the new year that we're currently in.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, well, it seems that, thanks, David. And look, I just want to say it's great to see the property team really making significant strides, even though we haven't hit some of the forecasts in there. I know, clearly lots of stuff's happening. So good on you guys. Keep up the good work. Okay, that being the case, we have a recommendation on page 45 that David's report be received. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Dale Marie. All in favour? Contrary, no. It is carried. Thanks very much. All right. Health and safety report for period January to June. Cool. Yeah. Oh, we got chairs coming all over. So, we need an introduction, Kim? All good to go. So, welcome, Steph, Bev, and Terry. Clark, sorry, what am I saying? Yeah, behind the time. So, yeah, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Kia ora. Kia ora koutou, ko Steph Shaw, tōku ingoa. Clark Collins, he joins our team and will be taking over the HR reporting from me in November. So go easy on him.
Good heavens.
And of course, you all know Bev Taylor, our health and safety business partner. So it is with great pleasure, as always, that we present this report, health and safety report, which covers the period of January to June this year to you. And we will take the report as being read and very comfortable to take any questions that you may have for us.
Claire.
Yeah, great to have you guys here, and I'd just like to commend you on the really positive report. Yeah, all those initiatives look really great. My question was about the major incident. Yeah, so that's on the second page, I think, or that first big page. Page 63 of our agenda, where you've got the tracks reporting at the bottom there, and it says that in June there was one major incident. You're able to sort of shed some light on what contributed to it, any consequences, and yeah, any learnings that are going to be sort of put into play because of it?
I believe that was a contractor incident. So that was dealt with by the contractor, but it was reported through our system.
Yeah, and so do you feel that the auditing or whatever, that we've got enough scrutiny over what they're doing, that they've addressed it well enough?
Yeah, we request reports from them as well.
Yeah.
And we keep quite a close eye on what comes out of that in the investigation as well.
Yeah, cool, excellent.
Thank you, Claire.
Yeah, thanks.
Terry may have been able to provide a bit more information as well on that particular piece of work. He has been working with the contractors around a due diligence in terms of from the start through to the finish of their term. So that includes pre-approvals right through to closeout meetings, and of course any investigations into events that happen.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Any further questions? Lou.
I was very pleased to see you actually recognising that lone person out in the field. Okay, it can be a dog control officer, it can be a building operator, but we do have, unfortunately, people out there that take quite offence to being told that they're not complying, and even with swimming pools, for example, you name it. And I think that that's a great thing to actually develop and have that facility, and perhaps the ability to actually remove themselves from on the site and just get out of the place and just leave it alone, because there is a lot of angst amongst some persons out there at the moment. And I think this is a great thing to keep you develop further.
Through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Brown. Totally agree, and documented in this report is some sterling work which has been done by Bev and a range of other teams across the organisation on threat and response. And you look at the incidents, and it says that there were 8 reports involving violence and aggression. That doesn't sound like a lot, but 1 is a lot. 1 is too many. So the fact that Bev has worked so well with other members of our organisation to develop up a really robust threat and response framework, which I think, we've demonstrated that this morning as well. Really pleased with that. So kudos to Bev.
Yeah, through the chair. Just the near misses, and they are highlighted at 44%. So yeah, just how are they tracking compared with maybe previous years, or near miss can be another category pretty quickly, obviously. It just seems like a high proportion.
Bev, sorry, through the chair. Bev, I can't remember how much we were reporting when the Safe Plus did the actual audit, but it was very, very low, and we certainly can find those details for you. But from my understanding, that 43.75% is now the total of near misses in relation to all the other events, and that's hugely significant. I have in my head somewhere around 7%, but I can certainly check that for you.
And I suppose in proportion with 330 odd staff, you've actually got to put this in, across 365 days. I guess what it shows overall is a workforce that's focused on safety,
Yeah, okay, thanks for that. Okay, if there's no, I'd just like to make a comment. I'm very pleased to see this threat and response framework. I guess it's hard to be definitive, but I do feel that aggressive behaviour is possibly on the increase, and recognising and attempting to diffuse early is, in my mind, really important. So I was very pleased to see, in your action responses that's very high up in the as you work through, and it really is great to have staff armed in the personal sense to deal with these in a non-threatening and non-aggressive manner. So, and congratulations on that. And in fact, your entire report. Great to see health and safety maturing in the organisation. So, having said all of that, do I have a mover for? Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, Lou. All in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. I should say contrary no, but there was none, so it's all good. Right, now I've got very confused and out of place, so just bear with me a moment. Here we go, point 9. Okay, yes, project proposal. This time I can welcome Andrew. Andrew, hi.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, councillors. So, Andrew Don's my name. My job title is Property Project Specialist. And I'm here today to present the recommendation of the Te Amutu and Kiki Community Board from its meeting on the 24th of May 2023. The resolution was as follows. that the Te Muru and Kiki Community Board recommends to the Finance and Corporate Committee that it considers the Homes Garage building at 74/90 Mahoe Street, Te Muru, as a venue for indoor markets and covered community events in Te Muru. Just please note that the reference to the Homes Garage building at 74/90 Mahoe Street in the resolution solely relates to the property at 90 Mahoe Street. So we're dealing with just one property. The community board was provided with a plan to redevelop the property. And last Friday, we received modified concept drawings for the proposal, which incorporate permanent housing for the Climax engine. And these have been added to your folders. The $100,000 earthquake strengthening cost quoted at the community board meeting has been discussed with the engineer who completed this assessment. And this figure was confirmed as being a reasonable estimate based on recent work that he'd been involved with. To convert the building to the proposed use, the community board were provided with a cost estimate of $300,000. Council staff, we do not yet have enough sufficient information on the scope of the proposed development to determine if this $300,000 is a realistic figure. The funding source for this project has not been identified. At the community board meeting, it was noted that council would be approached for assistance to redevelop the property. The board were unanimous in their support of this proposal and made their recommendation accordingly. Council staff believe it is critically important that there is a wider strategic consideration of the merits or otherwise of this proposal before progressing. Our Ahuaki Waipa Community Spatial Plan is being developed to ensure that council successfully delivers on its vision, Waipa, Home of Champions, building connected communities. By connecting the aspirations of our communities to our strategic planning. We anticipate that this plan will include recommendations for Te Mutu, which align with the proposed concept. In February and March 2023, Council carried out a roadshow engaging the community on this 30+ year strategy across 11 locations in the district, which included Te Mutu. During this community engagement phase, 265 comments were collected on the community's long-term aspirations for the town. Feedback included comments relating to the economic development of Te Mutu, predominantly on creating vibrancy in the town centre. The community also provided a range of comments on things such as heritage, arts and culture, parks and public facilities. Most comments were strongly in favour of creating multi-purpose facilities and showcasing the cultural diversity of the area. Staff do see risk in council not taking a wider view on this project. And on this basis, we recommend that the committee approves further investigation into the costings provided, implications for the council-owned properties at both 74 and 90 Mahoe Street, the findings from the substantial community consultation already undertaken, our Transport Department's planned streetscape improvements, the views of Mana Whenua as partners, and finally, expert urban design advice from Becca on how this project and the Te Mutu hub could be developed further. We have been in discussions with Annette Jones from Becca, who has done previous work in this area. We've had several meetings with her over the last few weeks, and she's put together a scope of works, and we've got a price, which we've got a budget for. And we're just sort of looking for some guidance here. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. I think that it covers the ground very well. Now, I know we have Ange here and you, yeah, so I know you'd invite you to speak for, on the project on behalf of the community board.
Yeah, look, just while Ange is taking a seat, so yeah, so Andrew, very well put, very well summarised. Essentially, what I just wanted to draw the meeting's attention to I suppose recommendation C. So yeah, so as Andrew said, we need to have a strategic view here, and look, what we're looking to do is to come back in November 2023, so November this year. You know, having done all of the work that Andrew's just you know, well described, and yeah, and actually make a decision there as to what happens. So yeah, so that's the time frame that we're sort of working to and asking the committee for today.
Thanks.
Ange, hi.
Yep. Tēnā koutou, everybody. Thanks for having me here today. I just firstly would like to put in Shane's apologies. He would have liked to have been here with me, but he's currently chairing the Waipa Community Facilities Board Trust, which I think started 15 minutes ago. So yeah, Shane's a bit disappointed he couldn't be here. But as the community board, we thought this was a great idea. And I'd just like to have the opportunity to go through and comment against some of the things in the report. So just first up, a little error. Te Awamutu Chamber of Commerce is no longer known as that. It's now known as the Te Awamutu Business Chamber. So that's just a little fix a thing. I also wanted to correct that Shane never mentioned 67%. He said he's got no idea where that 67% came from. The cost to strengthen to a compliant and safe standard as stated by Mike Livingston's structural engineer was that, as you've already pointed out, it would cost approximately $100,000. So that was what we were told. What I've done is I've tried to comment against your recommendations. So in regard to the initial cost, no, we don't know what the actual cost of the project will be at this stage because we didn't have the resources. So we wanted to see where council was sitting on this, whether they would be prepared to say, yep, let's have a go at this. But we also believe that based on the support that we've received to date from local contractors and the willingness to see this project to fruition, we believe that if council supported the project, it could be done with a considerable amount of community support at a very reasonable cost. So just as a starting example, Will Chisholm and David P. Hikahu from Architectural Design have already done those mock-ups for us at absolutely no cost. Mike Livingston's been through with his structural engineer and provided that advice around the earthquaking work. Mike's also very supportive of the project. And if I've got my facts right, I believe he thought that he came up with around about that $300,000 figure to do the additional work, just on looking at it. I know there's been some talk that the roof needs repair, apparently from someone that knows the building. The leaks are due to the clear light breaking down just because of its age and around those edgings. So it's not actual major roofing reconstruction that needs to be done there. If we move on to the next point in regard to Ahuaki, I'm not sure whether councillors were privy to the actual short report that that Shane provided us from Community Board. I noticed the summary, but it didn't actually include some of the comments here. But the actual idea came from the retailers, and the idea behind it was to activate Te Awamutu town on the weekends. So it was their idea, supported by the Te Awamutu Business Chamber, and then again supported by us as the Community Board. Just on also in that space, other stakeholders we've spoken to. So I've had a brief discussion with Bill Harris, the chair of Runanga Ngāti Apakura, who was previously a Ngā iwi or Topu or Waipa representative. And on the face of it, he just commented that, well, I can't see any problem. He thought it sounded like a really good idea for the town. I just spoke to one of the cafe owners who said, oh my gosh, what an amazing idea. We could do pop-up cafes, have a band. It could be, you know, it could become a really fun space to use. And so we have got good support. It ties in with the concept of Ahuaki wanting to invigorate the town centre. Can't quite remember where I put that piece, but anyway, it does fit in with what Ahuaki has said. I also made a note that it also tied in and fed back through our Who Are We Te Awamutu, where residents, and we had over 700 people take part in that survey, who said we want more events and markets in Te Awamutu. So it also fed through from that part of our community. In regard to the Transport Department's streetscape, we're not making any changes to the street out the front. So at this point in time, I wouldn't think that it would impact any of the transport streetscape plans as part of the urban mobility plans. I've mentioned that we have had a very tiny discussion with Bill, but that's the only one we've had a chance to, because again, we felt that we were putting the cart before the horse if we didn't even know we were allowed to use the building. But what I would like to say is that if local iwi are interested in being involved with the project, you know, we absolutely welcome that. There's a huge potential in there for artwork or all sorts of things. So I think that that's perfectly attainable using the existing building. On to expert urban design advice. This project's already been parked for 5 years. So we got Becker in originally in 2019. So we've already spent a considerable amount of money on concept plans that are no longer completely relevant because we've moved Te Arawai over to the Bunnings building. So our thinking is, why not get on and use the space cost effectively until the economic climate allows for further development of the hub area. It's also currently not in the LTP. I mean, we've got the Te Arawai project, we've got the Cambridge Hall, we've got probably the Cambridge Library, we've currently got the Memorial Park. So we've got some very big budget projects that are there. If we were able to find $500,000, that works out based on that, obviously at $50,000 over the next 10 years, because realistically, are we going to develop that in the next 10 years? Like you've heard me harp on before, we've waited for the museum for 20 years. It was originally the museum and there were design plans, etc., all done, which are all down the road. In 2014, it became the Te Arawai project, and we're now already knocking on 10 years and we still haven't got a discovery centre or a museum happening. So our feeling is, if we could get approval, go for option 2, we would be able to get in and enjoy this facility. Some of the ideas that it could be used for, from speaking to various stakeholders, Dean Taylor felt that it could potentially host the Classic Car National Show, which would actually go towards funding most of it. It could host the Saturday market instead of having them out here. It could host the Thursday farmers market. The other day we had atrocious weather. There was one stall there. It could be a place for a youth concert or a local band. It could be a place for an event to be held that might have got cancelled. So for example, say the Gumboot Day that Mike King organises around the country. It could be used for schools and groups that come to visit Te Awamutu and want a place for lunch, because, you know, you get a big bunch of school kids, they don't actually all fit on the Victoria Street Rotunda, and that actually is about the only place for them to go unless the event centre is free for them to go in there. The Rotary Book Club, like I mentioned, I spoke to the local cafe. So there's lots of opportunities that, to really get in behind this project, zhuzh up an old building. It's been done all around the country with great success. The Auckland waterfront with the old wool stores in Napier. I can go on and on about old buildings that have been repurposed at affordable amounts of money to create a space that can be used in the interim until we can possibly turn it into a bigger project that is more in keeping with aspirations of Becca. And then one of the big things that have just eventuated from those pictures that you were recently sent through is a place for the Climax steam engine. And as you all know, that also has had a lot of money, I believe over $100,000 that Lions have raised and done to revamp and make it look original and beautiful. And it's currently sitting in storage, costing these guys money, I imagine, because it's probably on their budget, is it, to look after the Climax steam engine. We've had some initial discussions with Lions and they're quite keen. If the Bunnings building is off the cards, and from little rumours that I've heard, I don't believe that there's strong support for it to go over by or in Te Arawai. So this would be, as you could see from those pictures, hopefully a great place to put it. In addition, we could have it set up so that there's some displays that show old photos of the kids from the park days playing on it, that we could get the community involved by providing those photos. We could have at the other end the story of it working out at Naroma and its association with the business that used to be over on that Bunnings site. So there's lots of potential there. So I think that's probably covered off most of, oh, hang on, wait, there's more. I think really the key part is around the fact that we just want to get on and get using it. And yes, $500,000 is a lot of money, but actually in council terms, it's not huge. It's $50,000 a year. And, you know, we can find money to do stuff. I know there are a lot of Te Awamutu people that would rather that you grab $500,000 out of the War Memorial Park budget and put it in there to get this place happening rather than spending it down there. So,
hey, look,
but questions if there are any.
Look, thanks for your presentation and your enthusiasm and I just got to say I had a quick meeting with Shane yesterday. He's very, very enthusiastic to see this go ahead. In terms of our budgets, we simply can't take one from one to another without going through a very significant process. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, but you know what?
And likewise, you know, I know we're $100 million business, but the reality is we just don't have the ability to pluck $200,000 or $300,000 or $500,000 out of. But anyway, putting all that aside, I just want to, you know, go around and ask for questions and comments. And but Ken, you wanted to have a.
Yeah, look, actually, I was, going to very much pick up on your same sentiment in terms of, you know, absolutely love the energy, the enthusiasm, the excitement for this project, and have heard you, and in fact, Shane, because I've had a couple of individual conversations with Shane, you know, understand your desire to move ahead with this very, very quickly. But look, you know, in summary, you know, essentially what we're saying is that, you know, from the staff angle, our suggestion is it is just not responsible to you know to do this immediately without working through the you know the strategic considerations that have been presented today. And essentially, I'll repeat what I said before. What staff are asking for is some time through to November to you know to actually have a really good look at the things that are mentioned in this report, and then come back to this committee with you know with a sound kind recommendation as to what we do here. The staff are not necessarily opposed to this. Staff are just saying, look, council or this committee, I suppose more importantly, needs to get their head around this, needs to have good information, good strategic thinking into whether this is a good proposition or not. So asking for November to do that.
Thanks, Ken. Liz.
Yeah, I was just thinking, nice report actually, and you've turned me around a little bit on this project. But normally with a project like this, I'd expect to see a feasibility study just around its usage or potential usage. And I can absolutely see the potential for it, but I'd like to know that we're going to have all of those organisations utilising it.
And they have something, so yeah, Claire.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate the report, and I can actually see the potential. I'm pretty excited about the possibility. I'm certainly in support of the action plan that staff are putting forward about the importance that it fits with our strategies and all that kind of thing. But I do think that it's got great potential, and the location is really good too. My biggest question actually is, we're supposed to be having an economic development strategy for Te Awamutu being done, and what's happened to that? Because this would have naturally been part of that actually, I would have thought. Yeah.
Yeah, so look, through the chair, so Kirsty is here, and in fact, so she can certainly speak to the economic development strategy, and in fact to, I guess, Ahuaki type considerations as well. So yeah.
So through the chair, as you're aware, we have a vacancy in the Economic Development Advisor role. We've just brought to a close the advertising for applications and are working through those with a view to interviewing this week and next. So the economic wellbeing strategy has been delayed, obviously due in part to restrictions that were put in place through COVID and engagement. And then with Steve exiting the organisation at the end of March. So absolutely what the engagement with Ahuaki has highlighted is that we do have some gaps in terms of the economy, looking particularly at diversity within our economy, but also within our rural economy. So that has been highlighted, and actually that's one of the areas that we are looking to focus on when we commence the next round of community engagement in September and October with the World Cafe workshops. We are anticipating that there will be a focused discussion around the economy. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsty. Lou.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. I'm very much like Liz. I do know that there is a place for this sort of thing, having organised a number of events in this town, from child cancer runs to all sorts of things, where we have a covered area that we can actually utilise. Having to have them on Selwyn Park on a drizzly day isn't fun when you're organising a major event. And I do notice that it could link very nicely with Market Street to our Walk of Fame. So that's going to make that actual asset be utilised quite a lot more. At the moment, you've got to go down down the main street, almost opposite the old Bunnings Village, to get into that Walk of Fame. The second thing is, I just want to find out, I like the idea of that, what we're proposing and putting it out to November. I think we need some consideration to consult this a little bit. But what I would do, it shouldn't be just done in-house. I feel we should do that with the public as well, because these are the people that are going to benefit. And I think that we've got to put it out there to allow them. I'm not asking a submission, Susan, but I'm just asking for put it out and let people have a say. And some of these organisations, like the Rotary Club and others, would probably be able to put something positive or negative into supporting it.
So through the chair, just to highlight that there has already been extensive engagement with the community in respect of the TA hub through previous long-term plan, through the work that we did in terms of the early development of the Discovery Centre that has now become Te Arawai. Also, Andrew mentioned the engagement through Ahuaki with extensive engagement in February and March. And as we've mentioned, we're going through another round of engagement in September and October, and a special consultative procedure for our spatial plan and long-term plan in March of next year. So although not specific to this particular proposal, it certainly is within the ambit of that. And I guess that's from a strategic perspective, we're putting my GM strategy hat on, really, I guess, wanting to ensure that we bring all of that earlier work and current work underway, as well as that's proposed for the future, and that we look at it in a comprehensive, collaborative way.
Thanks, Kirsty. Okay.
Andrew.
Mike.
Yeah, through the chair, and through that process, if this gains legs, it would go into the LTP for consultation above what's been done anyway, or I would suspect. So, yeah, that's where that will sort of happen again. So I'm looking forward to coming back in November, and I'm looking forward to the staff comments and feedback.
Can I just ask, I've just got a couple of things to address Liz in regard to the feasibility study. At this point, we were wanting to get a feel from council whether they thought it was a potential go. So we didn't want to go and do all of that. However, all of those people and those groups, I have spoken to the majority of them. And I do find it frustrating at times that the work we do as community board members, for example, the Who Are We Te Awamutu, where we had over 700 people take part and tell us what they wanted for our town, and it doesn't seem to count. I'm not saying that this changes this decision. However, I think that, you know, staff had the opportunity to present you this big proposal, yet we get given a recommendation and a wee summary of what we were presented, and with some photos. So I sort of feel a little bit disadvantaged when I come here to ask, do you think it's a good idea? Would you support going ahead with it? And I feel that we're getting pushed back when we weren't actually given the opportunity to provide all the information that you wanted in the first instance. And secondly, waiting till November, that probably is prudent. However, I do question spending another $25,000 on a Becker consultant to do a plan that we're not going to be able to do until way down the track, because you've said yourselves that that money's not there. But can we get around the table and maybe look at it another way? If council hasn't got the money, can we see what support there is from the community to come up with some funding possibly? I mean, ideally, I don't expect them to pay for it because they also pay for rates and it is a council asset. However, if that got it off the ground, like the grandstand, to make it happen, because I just feel like we just keep missing out because we always have to wait and we always get pushed back. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ange. And I appreciate your feelings there and where you're coming from to a certain extent. I have to say, though, that whether we agree to go ahead with the Becker 25,000 or not, personally, I don't think there's any way this meeting could approve the expenditure of, up to $500,000, especially when it's not scoped and our engineering team have. It's a whole raft of things. And look, that it comes back to what I say that I learnt myself during my first term as a councillor. Nothing happens unless it's in the long-term plan. This is not in our current long-term plan. It has to go through that process to come to fruition. Council just simply isn't in a position, for many reasons, not just money, but also the scheduling of work, the work stream through our offices. And look, it is frustrating. Stuff takes time. It's all of that. Having said all that, there are many really positive things about this proposal. Don't get me wrong. I think most of the people sitting around here can see the potential this could have to you know, help Te Awamutu become a more vibrant and you know, and this could be a space where lots of things could happen. Your presentation was, you know, compelling really and well put together. So don't go away thinking you've been shot down, you haven't. But however, yeah, Mike.
And yeah, it seems like a really cool idea. And this is a bit of left field thinking. It seems kind of commercial to me. Is there scope to just forget council? Council owns the asset, but for this to be a commercial undertaking, like, you know, markets on, it's getting a peppercorn rent at the moment. Is that a way of advancing this to the benefit of Te Awamutu without costing council?
I think potentially it could be. One of the suggestions was that Destination Te Awamutu would be in charge of looking after it. The eyesight already run the craft fair and the local farmers market. If you could get a couple of events like the Classic Cars National Show, I certainly think that would generate some income. But where we were coming from is, what is the point of doing that if we come here and it was just a flat no? So if, you know, like I suppose for me, option 2 was charge ahead, or option 3 is spend another $25,000 and da-di-da-di-da, but maybe the option 2 needs to be modified. Yes, on principle, we think that this has got some legs. However, we want to know a more accurate amount of, you know, like the costings, the feasibility study, and that's part of what needs to come back, and whether council staff have got the time and resources to help get that information, or whether it comes back and we need to provide that information. Maybe that's another option.
Ken, and then Claire.
Yeah, look, I was just going to say, just in response to Councillor Montgomery's comment there. So look, I did actually raise virtually exactly the same point with Shane Walsh when I met with him a little while ago. So look, maybe the way this can play out, and actually, sorry, I should have said Shane actually did say that that there was a possibility, but of course they haven't worked through any of that, and they would need time to work through that. But look, perhaps while assuming the resolution goes through as it currently is, and we set the date for November, maybe it's a further conversation with Ange and Shane. I mean, me and the team are happy to have a further conversation with Shane and Ange, on this. Maybe the chamber and the community board, whoever, can do a bit more work in terms of some of those feasibility aspects, and in terms of the potential for revenue streams, etc., so that we can see see how this plays out while council do the work that we are committing to.
Thanks, Ken. Claire.
Yeah. Thanks. I think that's great. And I just wanted to respond to you, Angela. You were saying that it sounded like you weren't sure whether or not there was $25,000 there to do this urban design work with Becca, but I mean, it says in our resolution that funding source is there. So, and I'm imagining that can go ahead. In fact, it will be a wonderful resource to have when we will need to go to the community with the idea. In fact, I suspect that's why it's put in there, because it's sort of preparing the way to then use it for some community consultation, which we probably would need to do after this other work's been done. So I'm really happy to see that. Yeah.
Thanks, Claire. Wow, I've got two staff here. Before I do you want to go first, or Andrew? Ken's going first.
Look,
seniority.
Just really quickly in regard to the comment that Councillor St Pierre's just made. Look at that Becca money will be well spent anyway, because it's not actually only about this proposal. Like we're specifically writing into the brief for the work that Becca do very clearly consider this proposal. We will, if we haven't already, provide them with all of the concept drawings that you guys have provided us. But look, it's got a lot wider scope to it as well, and in regard to a much wider area around that whole hub space. So so what's happening further down Mahoe Street, that sort of thing. That's all in that brief of work as well that we're seeking from Becca. So the work needed doing anyway. Even if this didn't come up, that work is definitely needed. I guess this is just perhaps brought it forward a little bit in response to your proposal.
Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make one comment about it, was that when we look at, it was a feeling that when we shouldn't be looking at 90 Mahoe Street in isolation. We've got the library right next door, and we've got 74 right next door now. Together, 74 and 90 is around 2,000 square metres of land. And the thinking is that to develop one without thinking too much about how the other one's going to come in could be a mistake. And we're trying to have a strategic type of thinking around it, rather than we've got an old building at 74 and 90 is even older. The thinking around it would be more to look at the wider picture, and that's what we're trying to get across, I think. And that's just reinforcing what Ken's just said about the bigger area. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for that. And look, I think I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you for bringing this to us. That's first, because it really is a proposal that's got a lot of positiveness to it. However, and thank you, Ken and Andrew, for clarifying the Becca expenditure. I think we'll all probably feel a lot more comfortable with that, knowing it is a due and to refresh that plan anyway. I don't think there was any way we could really say yes to this as a project in isolation. We really do have to see how it works in with all of the the building next door, the Te Awamutu Panapitas building, Market Street, and all the rest of it. So to come back to us in November, that's really quick work for council, believe me. You've stimulated something, so well done. But having said that, I think that's probably, Lou wants to have final.
No,
word.
I don't want final.
Oh,
word.
you're going to move the resolution.
I'm just going to move.
Okay, great. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Marcus.
Let's not talk about it, do it.
Yeah. So no, I
move it. We do it. What we do.
I really do congratulate you on getting off your chuff, you and Shane, and bringing it and getting something moving. So yeah, well done. So I have a mover and a seconder, Lou and Marcus. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour?
Let's get on.
Contrary? It's carried. Thanks. This is proper mahi. Okay, item 10, Joe. I think we're all good to go. Yep.
Good
Fire up.
afternoon. Purpose of this report here today is to look at some amendments to the elected member allowance and expense rules. This is something we do from time to time. So there's a couple of different amendments in there that are proposed, coming from different sources, either that being changes to the determination order or some things that we've seen elsewhere that we thought might be useful to incorporate into your rules, and looking at bringing anything from our sensitive expenditure policy for staff over to elected members. So is there any questions on anything that has been proposed in the changes?
Clear.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I had a question about the childcare allowance. So that's on page 99 or page 7 of your report. Because it changes, the childcare is provided by a person who is not a parent or, you know, or a de facto partner, but it's so if you're a family member, you could actually claim that allowance. Because I thought that was a specific exclusion under the previous policy. Like, is that something that's been changed in legislation?
Yes, that's what I did with, that was one of the ones that changed as a result of the determination order. So I checked through your allowances just to see the criteria around those and made sure that what we had in here in the material and your rules mirrored what was in the current determination order, because that determination order changes every 12 months. So we do just need to change things as that changes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then just a query about a typo. I think that's on page 111 or page 19, the last page. It says personal travel intersped with council related business. I think, is it interspersed or interspread? I don't know. Intersped.
Intersped. That was
It sounds speedy. Yeah.
Yeah, intersped. That's kind of when it, you know, it's in conjunction with the council related business. That was something actually that in phraseology that I did see in a couple of other rules from other councils around the country. So that is where I took that from.
It could be in before. Yeah. Okay.
But if someone does have a different word they'd like to use.
Well,
while we're thinking about that, Monty and then Mike.
Joe, travel time, page 104.
Yeah.
Councillor travel time. It doesn't really sit comfortably with me, to be honest. I don't think in a district as small as Waipawa, we should be getting travel time necessarily. I would get that. It takes me 45 minutes to get here, hour and a half time. But I don't think I deserve it.
Yeah, the minimum threshold of 1 hour travel time. So you'd need to do longer.
In a day. And I'm only paid above that. So if it takes me an hour and a half to get here and back, which it roughly does, I'll be changing half an hour of time, which is $20 a time, and which I don't, by the way, and I don't think I should.
Yeah.
Interspeed isn't a word.
It isn't a word.
It isn't a word.
Shall we clear up in retrospect?
Yeah.
Hey, so sorry, can I? Yeah, can I just speak to that through the chair in terms of the travel time? So look, this has been allowable under the under the REM authority rules for a while, like it wasn't for a long time, and of course what this was a response to some of the councils down in the South Island, like absolutely massive geographical areas, and councillors travelling like an hour and a half, 2 hours to actually get to meetings. And of course they're not being fair, that they weren't being remunerated for their time in that space. I know when they like a few years ago when they actually opened this up, I mean there was talk at Waipawa about this is irrelevant to us, we don't need this in there, and then we kind of thought about it. Well, sometimes like I guess the reason why we built it was it was allowed by the REM authority, so looking to offer it up to you people, because they do allow it, and of course they have set some parameters, and then also thinking about from time to time, it's not so much just travelling to council meetings, but from time to time, if you're required to do some council business up in Auckland and you maybe need to jump in your car and drive a couple of hours up to Auckland and back, you're dealing with some longer times there, and we thought in that situation it probably should be able to be opened up and enable you to have that. And look, there has been some claims. So I mean, I can't think of any recently, but there have been claims in that situation where some a councillor has gone up to like say genuine council business up in Auckland. We have never ever had it locally, and in effect until you just mentioned it, Mike. Actually, I guess I was working perhaps on a deluded misunderstanding that there probably wouldn't actually be anyone who would qualify for this, but you're pretty much suggesting you would. So we put it in here on the basis that we didn't think it would actually happen for just getting to and from council meetings, only to those special occasions and far away places. So yeah.
Just final question there. What about if you lived out of district? What if I shift to Auckland?
If you shift to Auckland, then we need to look at the mileage provisions. Oh no, for the travel time.
For the travel time, yeah. Because you're allowing people to drive to Auckland and claim for it. What if I shift to Wellington and
Let's just have a look.
still on
because-
yeah, come on.
There's a limitation about.
Tough man.
One's travel time. and one's
Yeah, as you do raise a good point there, because as Joe says, that is absolutely covered in regard to the mileage, but yeah, but there's no similar control in regard to the travel time.
But
So
I did add in that it must meet the criteria in the current determination order, which has, if a member of a local authority permanently or temporarily resides outside their local authority area and travels to the local authority area and local authority business, the member is only eligible for a travel time allowance for eligible travel time after the member crosses the boundary of the local authority area and after the first hour of eligible travel time within the local authority area.
Mike.
Right. Hey, back to page 98. And it's really just a slash after taxi. Could we just put an Uber? Because Uber's often cheaper than taxis and often that's what people use. You could put Flamingo as well, but or Lime.
Just put rideshare things.
Flamingo.
Because Uber might be gone tomorrow, but if you
Yeah.
put like a
Don't
ride
be
sharing.
specific.
Yeah, right. Well, ride share, yeah.
Marcus.
On page 95, where it's got excluding reimbursement for purchases from hotel minibars. Does anybody? Yeah, can we take that out? No. Actually, the other bit, it's the rest of it. Who has ever purchased an in-room video or cable movie from a hotel? Like, is that really necessary?
Yeah, Shane James.
Is that necessary? And or Wi-Fi for streaming movies? I mean, that's a bit dumb.
This is part of, yeah, some of these, they've been in there for a while and we were mirroring kind of what we have in our sensitive expenditure policy for staff, the same rules for elected members.
I don't think you can rent in-room videos and cable movies in a hotel anymore.
Video.
I think the whole thing after minibar can come out.
Where are we?
So it should just read the purchases from hotel minibar, which obviously makes sense. But the rest of that is just, I mean, that's just so old-fashioned nowadays.
Wi-Fi
Could you say
for
all
streaming
entertainment?
movies?
You're going to have Wi-Fi for working and emails anyway, and you're going to be use that to stream a movie on your own Netflix device on your laptop anyway. So you're already using the free Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi for your work stuff. So you're automatically then, so I'm doing some work, I'm going to put Netflix on my laptop and start streaming. Well, how am I going to like, oh, but I only use like 20% of the Wi-Fi for work, but I've used 20% for Netflix. It doesn't work like that. It's just, you pay for Wi-Fi for the room and then you've got Wi-Fi and you can do whatever you like on it, really.
Yeah, that's what you would do, Marcus, but the rest of us who are not into all this techno
No, but
geek
it doesn't
stuff.
make sense. That Wi-Fi for streaming movies, it doesn't make sense.
Pay for Wi-Fi.
You don't, usually you don't pay for Wi-Fi anyway. And if you did, you've already paid it to use for emailing and stuff.
Yeah.
So you've already got the Wi-Fi.
I guess it's more about hotels who do supply, I don't know, for a cost, other things. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't happen anymore.
yes, yeah.
I'm not going to.
You can't do that anymore. You can't rent an in-room video or cable movie. And there's a Wi-Fi for streaming movies. I mean, that just doesn't make sense at all.
So through the chair, I mean, what this is designed to capture is to prohibit, expenditure for, for stuff that's not of a business purpose, a genuine business purpose. So if we took some of these examples out, I mean, let's maybe leave the hotel minibars in there. I think you're acknowledging there's no problem there. Actually, I stayed a couple of nights ago at a hotel that did have a hotel minibar. Actually, after they're actually almost a part part of history now, but most of them don't have them. But yeah, like I say, I did stay at one a couple of nights ago that did. So yeah, let's keep that in there. But also, but perhaps if those other words we just sort of roll up into not incurring expenditure, that's for a non-business purpose. Would you be more comfortable with some more general words? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Cool. Yep, so we'll definitely do that because that's definitely the intent. It's just been, illustrated with examples that I take your point are potentially a bit archaic. Yep. Yeah, so
let's leave that out.
Let's not write a vibrating bed in there. Yeah.
Okay, so look, there also seems to be, after agreed very modest research, that interspeed is not a word.
Interspersed, would you like that? Interspersed.
Okay. Do we have any other comments? It's time to move on. If not, great.
So Chair, I'm just wondering where we landed just on that travel, the travel time thing that Mike raised. I mean, are we saying leave that in? I mean, we could put a stroke right through that and not allow that at all. But yeah, I don't know. Where are we at with that?
Bold stroke.
What is it? An excluding reimbursement for purchases from hotel minibars and non-business related.
Yeah, that's good.
Incidental costs. Yeah, why not? What page are we on?
Your travel time.
Just to comment through the chair, just
it's on page 104.
On your comment though, Mike, I mean, this is for everyone, I guess, and we might come back to this in 5 years, to be fair. So, hey, I'm happy it stays in there. I mean, if someone wanted to claim it and other councils have got it, well, it's on them. You know, rather than us look at it for us sitting here as individuals, it's councils in the future, I guess. And half an hour would probably be the most you could actually travel in this place. Like an hour, I can't think in this whole district, an hour each way, or even 45 minutes probably gets you to the boundary of everywhere. So the maximum someone could, wouldn't it?
What Mike saying it does.
Travel time, it'll take more than an hour to go from Parongia to, Wharekahunga or...
No, but to come to TA.
At Tiaroa Road, it can take my brother half an hour.
I'm close to the Tamero or the Waipara Piauco boundary, and it takes me 35. I've got to allow about 45 minutes from when I get in my car in the garage to sort of rock in here. But it takes me drive time probably 35, 40 minutes.
Lou.
Just a quick clarification through you. With this travel time, for example, I go regularly to your civil defence at Regional Council. It takes me an hour by time to get there and back. Okay, can I claim travel time? I've never done it, never have. It's council business, but I've never ever claimed travel time. I would say one great thing I've seen there is I don't have to worry about paying my parking ticket of $16 and trying to claim it for Zoe, not having a receipt, because you're done with recognition on your number plates now. So just a thought.
Okay, Lou, thank you. Mike?
Yeah, just responding to Mike's point, it's probably a fair point. I was thinking about myself. Always keen for greater diversity in here, and it is one of the roadblocks to being here is that you've got to be able to afford it. So if someone needs to be able to claim that $40, yeah, probably a fair call. You win that argument, it probably for me, that's I'm happy.
Move on. Okay.
So
I have a mover. Do I have a seconder for them?
do you want me to, I've got some amendment to the recommendation.
We're comfortable with them.
Well, I've just noted them all down. So it's B, subject to the following amendments.
Yeah.
Changing the word intersped in Schedule 1 to interspersed, where taxis are referred to also include rideshare. And in relation to travel and attendance at conferences, remove in-room cable, video, cable movies or Wi-Fi streaming and replace with non-business related incidentals.
Perfect. So the recommendation as amended, moved by Liz, seconded by Lou. All in favour? Contrary, no. Moving on. Thank you, Joe. Brilliant. 5-minute break. 3 o'clock. Yes, I suppose. We're running. Before we have our break, could I have a move to go to PE, please? And seconded by Mike and Mike. All in favour?